Do on BBC Radio Kent. It's Drive Time with Dominic King with you through until 7 o'clock. Now to The Scoop.
BBC Radio Kent's Drive Time with Dominic King. Celebrity Scoop.
Today on the show, X Factor Golden Boy Joe McElderry telling me about life after the top TV talent show. His smash hit single, The Climb, rocketed to #1, went gold within 2 weeks, way back then. And Joe hitting the road now with a 60-date tour, which is coming to Kent next month.
Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's a
I've had a very loyal fan base who've stuck by us and supported us in everything I've done, and turn up and see the shows and buy the albums and get behind us. So yes, I work hard, but I'm very lucky as well. Very fortunate.
When you look back at the X Factor from 6 years ago and you think about how it is now, what are the differences, do you think? And do you think the pressure's bigger now or bigger then when it was first starting out, really, for us all?
I think the pressure is always there when you come off a show like that, because obviously you're coming off of the back of a huge platform and a huge machine. You know, it's a machine of a show. So I think there's pressure for everyone, no matter what year you went on. But then, you know, my year was one of the most watched series, so there was obviously more people watching. So I think with that adds a little bit more pressure, you know, because you feel like, oh my God, what do I do now?
Yeah. And how much do you think you learned from that whole experience? Because you were really in the spotlight there.
You're under a magnifying glass for about, well, almost 6 months, really, I suppose. When you're doing the live shows, it goes on for that long, from the auditions to the end of the show, and you're under a magnifying glass. You know, you're under intense pressure to obviously deliver your songs because you want to stay in each week, and you're also trying to deal with all of the whole thing of people recognizing who you are and finding stuff out about your personal life. It's a big adjustment, you know, but at the same time, it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had, and I loved every minute of it. You know, as much as I was a bit rabbit in the headlights, I loved it. I was a child, really. I was 18. It was my first time being away from home. I was in the middle of London in this huge house with a load of strangers who I'd never met before, obviously who became friends throughout the period of the show. But at the beginning, I was a bit like, can I actually do this? You know, can I cope with this? And I genuinely didn't know if I could or not. And I did cope with it, and I enjoyed it. But even after the show as well, it took a while for it to become like my normality, because it's not really a normal job, is it?
Let's talk about your latest tour that brings you here to the county, the Evolution Tour. Tell us more.
It's going to be kind of like a show, I suppose, that's looking back on things but also looking forward. You know, I've got some material that I haven't sang for a long time. I've got some new material, and it's going to kind of be a storyboard throughout what I've experienced through my career so far with new and old music. So I think it's going to be an experience for people. It's going to bring back some memories. You're also going to hear some new stuff, which is going to create some new memories, hopefully. And yeah, I can't wait. I'm in rehearsals at the minute, and I'm putting together the set list, and I think it's a really exciting set list. I make the audience very involved in the show. I have big sing-along sections in the song. I rearrange all of the stuff live, so you never really hear one of my songs how it's supposed to sound on the album. I like to change it and give it a live kind of feel. So there's loads of audience participation in the show, and we'll also do this really fun part of the show called Jukebox Joe, which basically is where the audience, like, we put all the lights up in the venue, and the audience get to shout out songs. And even if we don't know them, me and the band busk it, and it's just an amazing kind of live experience, because people just can't believe that you're actually allowing yourself to sing songs that they choose. I tried it once at a show, and it was such a hit that I've kept it in, and I'm keeping it in this year. So that's a really fun part of the show.
A couple of things I wanted to ask you about, because I was just reading about this, and I thought that must have been really strange, because you back at X Factor, you had a guest mentor that was looking after you at one point, and it was Whitney Houston. I just wonder what that feels like now, to know she's no longer with us, and to know that you had that time with her.
It was one of those experiences where it didn't quite feel real, because you're in the room with somebody who I think pretty much is probably safe to say that every singer, male or female, she is like the ultimate vocalist out of anybody that's ever been around, I think. She set that standard. And I think, so to actually be stood in the room with her and singing one of her songs to her and have her like join in the song and giving you critique and being really nice and complimentary, it was like, that's probably one of them moments I'll actually cherish forever. But again, such a sad end to an amazing career, you know, and on a personal level as well. I think it was quite apparent it was a very sad situation, which is quite upsetting to see.
Did it feel like that at the time, that there was something not quite right?
Not at all. I mean, we did a masterclass with her in a hotel in London, and she was totally switched on. She looked absolutely incredible. She was joining in with everybody. She was laughing, totally like in the moment and just enjoying herself. And then I think obviously she came on the show 2 days later to perform, and it was that famous kind of performance where it was a bit of a disaster, and the dress came undone, and it was all like a big kind of press story. And I just looked at that and I thought, you know, sometimes you can look at people and they can be the most successful people in the world, but it's not always the kind of fairy tale ending, you know. And I think that was a fine case of that. But I have so much respect for her because of what she did and her career. What an incredible career she had.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
You also have the honour, I guess, of being the only X Factor contestant to address the Oxford Union, following in the footsteps of Winston Churchill and Albert Einstein. How cool is that? Because no one else can take that. No one else. It's you, Joe.
That was very interesting. It was very intimidating. I did feel a bit funny walking into Oxford University with me little Geordie accent and standing in front of them all. I didn't think I was posh enough for Oxford, but there you go. Stranger things have happened, clearly.
Joe McElderry is at Maidstone's Hazlitt Theatre on the 8th of March. Still ahead on BBC Radio Kent, we'll hear what you're rating and slating about the day. First, the latest news, weather.